Welcome back. Well, with me right now is Orange County Supervisor Lisa Bartlett, who oversees the 5th District. And today, first I'd like to welcome you.
Thank you, Ken.
And you brought along Dr. Jeff Nagel. And Doctor, we are with the Orange County Behavioral Health Services Department, am I right?
Yes, I'm the Behavioral Health Director for the county under the Healthcare Agency. Well,
it's great to have you here today. What we're going to be talking about is really a very serious subject, and we're talking about the suicide prevention initiative that you folks are doing. And Supervisor, sadly, this is beginning to happen all too often, not only with adults, but of course with children. And unfortunately, this happened at a local middle school not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, I believe. And it's a type of problem that is certainly not easily defined or fixed, because depending on the person, to the situation, there's so many parameters that can fit into this, right?
You're absolutely right, Ken. Any number of things can affect a person's mental health. Mm-hmm. It could be, for kids, it could be anything from cyberbullying, social media posts. And for our older adults, it can be loneliness, or they lose a spouse, or have a medical condition. So any number of things can trigger a mental health crisis, and that's why last week I initiated the Suicide Prevention Initiative. That's going to be a county-wide initiative. We're putting $600,000 into an initiative to really get the word out there to the public at large, that we're always been known as a county that cares, and mental health is something that's extremely important. It's a topic that a lot of people don't always like to talk about. There's a stigma sometimes associated with mental illness, and this is something that we want the public to get over, because the county has a plethora of resources, and we want to be able to help those that have a mental health crisis, because with help there's hope.
Yeah, and I think that, with so many people that, and there's many different sizes, there are the people with mental health that maybe don't realize that help's out there. Maybe they do not have the capacity to seek that out. And of course, the other side of that is with youth, which unfortunately is something that certainly happened for decades because of peer pressure. Of course, that is just exaggerated now tenfold, 100-fold because of social media.
Yeah. Well, suicide is the leading cause of non-natural death nationwide. Mm-hmm. And when you take a look at the numbers, ages 45 through 64 have the highest rate of suicide, and the next highest group are older adults, 85 plus. So really targeting our seniors and letting them know we have resources to help them, get through a mental health crisis. The county is a place where we can offer a great deal of assistance to those that have a mental health crisis. We are going to be building out a 60,000 square foot campus strictly focused on mental health, and it'll be open to the public in a few years, and regardless of ability to pay.
Right, and last time you were on, you were talking about that.
Yes, that's our Be Well campus.
Yeah, and that, of course, deals with all the aspects of mental health.
Yes.
Now, Doctor, let me turn to you here. Tell me about the role of the department, and how long have you been with the department, or you've worked with other agencies as well?
I've been with the healthcare agency almost 30 years.
Okay.
First, I want to thank Supervisor Bartlett for her leadership on this issue. It is a time where there's more attention now being paid to behavioral health and mental health issues, and it is such a nice recognition of the role that mental health plays in total health.
Right.
So in terms of our agency and what we provide the full spectrum of services, from prevention and earlier intervention up to crisis services and treatment across the lifespan. So whether it is the youth, adult population, or older adult population, we have services. So I think I wanted to emphasize that part, as well as if somebody is feeling that they are in a behavioral health crisis, there are resources for them and places to call. One of the places to call is OC Links, and that is we have trained navigators that help people identify resources that they need, but we also have, in terms of suicide, there's the National Suicide Hotline, as well as suicideispreventable.org, which provides local county resources as well.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, Lisa just talked about sort of so to make it very simplistic, kind of the three categories or age groups. You have youth, you have the middle-aged folks, and you have seniors. And we're talking about the suicide rates and prevention here. And I would think for each group that there are very, very different reasons and parameters. A lot of times with youth, it may not be mental health as we think of mental health at all. It is about the usual not being accepted by their peers. And of course, nowadays with social media, if somebody doesn't like you, all of a sudden the word goes out to dozens or hundreds within seconds, or whatever they may be saying about you. With middle age, you quite often have that normal, the pressure of you're raising kids, financial pressures and things like that, along with the possibility of mental health. And then with seniors, as you just said, Supervisor, a lot of times it's loneliness, feeling like, what else do I have in my life at this point? So it's different for every group, right?
Yeah, no, very, very insightful. Certainly, when we were growing up, the social pressures, the internet and social media didn't exist.
Yeah.
And the acceleration of kind of negative emotions through kind of the cyberbullying, through it definitely has an impact. So you're absolutely right. The approaches that we take with youth, adults, and older adults would be different. But one of the, I think, important elements when we're talking about crisis is to talk about resilience.
Yeah.
And so there are things that we can do to make ourselves more resilient to a behavioral health crisis. One is being connected in your community.
Right.
We know, eat well, be active, but an interesting one is being grateful. Finding things to be, to have gratitude about actually is helps to inoculate or prevent mental illness.
That's interesting that you say that. And there is a social media thing that I go on, the Nextdoor neighborhood app. And there's someone that within my realm where I live up in RSM, and I think it's every day or a few days, this gentleman always posts something to be grateful for within the community in the area. And it's kind of nice. There's nothing behind it other than whatever it might be he's saying for that day or the week. And that's interesting that you bring that up, because being grateful, I think we all tend to, unfortunately, kind of see the negative things nowadays more than we see the positive things.
Yeah, and being grateful is really kind of the opposite of hopelessness,
Right.
And that, as we talk about suicide, hopelessness is really kind of a key of the issue. If you go to suicideispreventable.org, there's a button that says Know the Signs. Okay. And it talks about what are the different signs of depression and of risk for suicide. And it has it broken out according to different age groups, so you can kind of look at that. But it also equips people who go to that website with what are the things that you can do. So there's great resources there as well.
Yeah, and I think that's very important.
It's a matter of knowing what are those elements that contribute to mental health and decline in mental health, and to reach out for help. Because the county, we post a lot of this information, but that's part of this county-wide initiative that we're moving forward, is look for the warning signs that you can see on the website, and if you have any of those signs, reach out, call one of the numbers, because we can provide resources to kind of get them over that crisis,
right,
and make sure that they are happy and healthy into their later years in life.
as long as you've been working on this and been a supervisor, you've been a supervisor for 5 years?
Yes.
And of course, before that, you were the mayor of Dana Point.
Right.
Have you seen an increase in both mental health problems and suicide, or is it that we are just recognizing it and handling it better than we used to?
It's both.
Okay.
Yeah, nationwide there has been a significant increase in mental health crisis and in suicides, and in Orange County we've had a huge spike in all categories, whether it's youth suicides or older adults as well. And so we've got basically a public health crisis right now that we want to address and address it head on.
You know, again, when it comes to youth, we can kind of, in some cases, see the problems, okay, here are some of the reasons this might be happening. But in older adults, is it any different than it was years ago, that older adults are, in some cases, just as lonely as they used to be, who don't have their family around them? And what do you think is the spike there? You know, if either one of you could answer that, what do you think the reason is?
There's really no single cause of either suicide or depression, but I think you've kind of hit on some of the key elements: loneliness, loss, physical health issues. So as people start to lose their ability to do the things that they enjoyed, then they can be depressed or lose hope. So a lot of those things contribute.
Or even a financial crisis, because older adults have, many times they're working on a fixed income, and the cost of living keeps going up, and yet their income is fixed. So that can cause a mental health crisis as well.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that. And the cost of living in general has risen faster than maybe what the Social Security is paying out or other things are paying out. So they feel more in the red than probably they did maybe 20 years ago. As far as people who were 80, 85, 20 years ago, it wasn't quite as bad as it is now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there are so many ways that we can help the older adults that are having depression or a mental health crisis or a financial crisis, help them bridge that gap.
Right. And one of the ways, you know, you've talked about this before, and it's the CalFresh enrollment event. So tell us about that.
So on June 5th, we're going to have a CalFresh enrollment event. It's actually a senior services day.
Okay.
To really push out to our seniors, particularly in Laguna Woods area, to let them know that the county has many services that they may not know about.
Okay.
They may be eligible for CalOptima with the medical services, CalFresh with the EBT cards, and additional services that we can provide them for purchasing products and food items and such.
Okay, and this will be an event that will allow them to a little bit easier to go and enroll in these things and have help in enrolling them.
Yes, instead of the seniors coming up to Santa Ana where my office is, or another location, we're going to come right down to Laguna Woods. We'll have our mobile vans that will be right down in the area here to meet with the seniors and make sure that they know about all of the county services that are available to them.
All right, and that's going to be on June 5th. We'll certainly remind you folks about that ongoing, and you'll be on at least 2 or 3 times before then, so we'll keep reminding them that that event will be happening, because that'll be really nice. Another nice event, we're going to kind of recap this, but it was a great day out at the Lake Forest Sports Park for the wonderful Pet Expo. My daughter and I went up there. We met with you and walked around there. And tell us some about the highlights of the events.
Well, we had over 6,000 people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people
attending
there.
Our Pet Expo, and it was just a great day. The weather was perfect. The prior 2 years we had a bit of rain, but this year the weather was great.
It was the one day in between. It was great. Yeah.
And Bruce Cameron was there again.
Yes.
He is. He was signing books and promoting his new film, A Dog's Way Home. And so he brought Bella, the star of the film. And just, it was a great day for everyone. We had a number of pet adoptions, and we had rescues there adopting out animals. Our OC Animal Care was on site as well and adopted out 3 of 5 animals that day.
And there's Bella right there. So it was funny, we walked over there, and Bella was there, and you kind of hear some of the kids go, wait a second, that's not the same. It doesn't, well, you know, that movie was made like a year ago and dogs do grow, so, but it was the same dog, and it was cool. It was so neat because really most of the event, at least when we were walking around, was getting animals adopted in the awareness of what's available and the resources to people and all the different pet services that are around the area.
Yes, and rescue animals make wonderful pets.
They do.
Yes, I have a 14-year-old rescue kitty, and what's really great about the dog stars of the movie, so there are 3 movies now with Bruce Cameron, 3 books, 3 movies,
Yeah.
But all of the dog stars were rescue animals.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we have one of our dogs is a rescue animal. So yeah, it's it was really a fun event, and I'm glad you put that on every year. Yeah.
It's a great day for people of all ages.
Yeah, there were there were quite a few booths there and vendors there, and of course they had, like we're showing on the photo here, there were cats there too. The photo that you have there, you had some demonstrations of dogs going through obstacle courses and catching frisbees and all kinds of things.
Yes, everyone loved the dog exhibitions.
Yeah, great fun. Well, I want to remind people that if they want information about the suicide prevention program that you're doing, that we have the information on the screen. There is a 24-hour support hotline that you may call for whatever needs. Maybe it's for you, maybe you're worried about someone. Give them a call, please, because you know, like they say, there's no wrong questions here. If you have something that you're concerned about, call them and get that support that you or maybe a loved one that you're worried about needs.
Yes, it can make a big difference in saving someone's life. And you know, at the county we say every life matters.
Yeah.
And we really mean that.
All right, great to see you, Supervisor.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Doctor, a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
And I know going forward we'll talk more about the Be Well program because there's a lot of parts to it.
Yes.
All right,
Great.
We'll be right back.